Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I give God praise for this opportunity and for the privilege of being asked to do this. There's a lot in my heart, but I do know that we don't have the whole day. I'll attempt to make this conversational. I hope we can achieve that. And I hope that through my story, the Lord will encourage you and remind you of the capacity that you already have. I want to thank the leadership of Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship for having me. I don't take this for granted. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I've been asked to speak on the subject of unboxing your potential. So when I got this topic, I smiled to myself, right? Because this is what I'm all about. But I also smiled to myself because it dawned on me that probably the real work for me would be, how do I approach this topic? One, it's one that is very dear to my heart. But secondly, there's so much in it. I mean, it's like a gold mine. And the question is, what do you share and what do you take away? So I thought, and I hope that it will be all right with everyone, that I'll make it a little bit conversational, right? That I will attempt to just make it look as if we're having an evening chat, an evening story time. And in between the narrative, I'll try to put a bit of my story, and I hope that we'll have some time for question and answer, and then I can really probably provide one or two other experiences of how I have unboxed potential. So what does it mean to unbox potential? Let me ask you a question. Imagine it's your birthday. Imagine it's your birthday, right? And someone that means a lot to you and you hold in high esteem, and someone that also, you know that that person, you're very dear to that person, gives you a birthday present and it's beautifully wrapped. Just imagine it. I just want you to imagine it. It's beautifully wrapped. As a matter of fact, probably it was brought by a courier, and the courier service brought the birthday present. In trying to open it, what will you do? Anybody, please, if you can just unmute yourself, if you don't mind. What will you do? You have the mic, 1 minute, 2 minutes, just unmute yourself. It's your birthday. A very dear person has sent you a present and you're trying to unwrap it. What would you do? Anyone? What will you do?
Can't wait to unwrap it. Another person says, hold my breath.
I can't wait. Is that what the person saying?
Yeah, the person says, I can't wait to unwrap it. Another person says, I'll hold my breath.
Okay, I'm going to hold my breath. I'm like, what is this? I like that. I like that, right? The element of surprise. You're thinking, oh, what is inside? I can't wait. Please, can I have one or two more comments on that? Please put it in the chat box and later we'll read it for
Another person says, we'll be very eager to unwrap it quickly. We'll be very eager.
I'm going to be in okay. That's you. Any other person?
Somebody says, carefully unwrap with expectation.
Oh, God bless you. I'm going to carefully unwrap it because I don't know what's inside, right? I don't know what's inside and I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to spoil my $1 million present just because I'm in a hurry. So I'm going to carefully unwrap it. Any other person? This is
somebody says, anxious to unwrap.
Sorry?
Anxious to unwrap.
I'm gonna be anxious. Yeah, okay, right. I'm gonna be in a hurry, which means I'm gonna be agile. I'm gonna give it all it takes, right? I'm gonna be very agile. I'm not gonna no long thing, something like that, right? I'll be anxious to unwrap it. Do we have one more?
Somebody says, I will leave everything and totally focus on unwrapping.
God bless you, whoever you are. God bless you. I will leave everything, guys. This is the whole presentation. Your potential is not a destination, it is a path. It is a path. It is a journey of liberation. It is a journey for you to liberate yourself from your own limitation or even the limitation that anyone has put upon you. So if someone gives you a birthday present, you want to find a good spot. If you are someone like me, in the first place, I won't open it until I get home. You know, people are different. I'll take my time. I am so particular because I don't want anything to go wrong, especially because I am anticipating something good by virtue of the relationship that I have with the person who has sent in the gift. So I'm going to look for a good spot when I get home. I'm going to stretch my legs. I'm going to take my time, and then I'm going to find the right tools, depending on how the box has been packaged. Maybe you need scissors. Maybe you need a razor blade, or maybe you want to use your bare hands. But I'm going to make sure that I'm in a good sitting position. I'm not standing. Some other person may want to stand. It's okay. Some other person may want to sit down. Some person might even lie down to open it. It's fine, right? But I'm going to take my time because it is my gift and I don't want to mess it up. And I'm trying to open it. And part of the joy of the gift is the opening. If you've ever received a birthday present that is beautifully packed, I don't know about you. There are times when you don't even want to take off the package, but you need to take off the package so that you can see what's inside. I asked that question to get you thinking around what your potential is, and the fact that it isn't a destination, it is a path. So your potential as an individual is something that you will unravel the whole of life. It's not going to happen overnight, honestly. If you don't take anything away from this meeting, maybe this is one of the first things you want to think of. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take the whole of your life, if you would. And it's a journey of liberation, how you liberate yourself from the limitations that others have put on you and from the limitations that you have put on yourself. I'll tell you a story. I was born in Kaduna State, in Zaria, to be precise. But I grew up in Niger State, in Pondogari. I grew up in a village with my maternal grandmother. And we used to trek to school. We used this LEA, Local Education Authority kind of primary school. We used to walk to school. And back then, it was difficult, if you would, to think that I would be the woman that I am now. Now, I didn't know I was going to be here at this point in life, but I knew that I was unique. Now, that's what is critical. So as you start the journey of unraveling yourself, please remember, it is your responsibility to free yourself. It is a journey of liberation. So don't have that mindset of I'm boxed. You are unraveling. You are opening up. So it's a journey of liberation, irrespective of the circumstances under you were giving birth to, the circumstances of your birth, your friends. Please don't limit yourself. The gift of life is the first sign that you matter. The opportunity to unravel that gift is the second time that you matter. The rest of it is a responsibility. So reaching your full potential is going to take patience. It's going to take courage. It's going to take self-awareness and a whole lot of grit. When Leke was reading my profile, I saw that people were sharing love with me. They were sending love and all that. I was proud. But guys, that was a journey of 23 years of career, or that is 23 years of being on this journey. And that's about almost 24 years post-graduation. So it's not going to happen overnight. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I have a scripture reference there in Psalms chapter 78. It's a scripture I love so much about the story of David. Bible talks about how he led his Israel through the skillfulness of his hands and the integrity of his heart. So it's something that is going to take some time. It's going to take patience. It's going to require courage. It's going to require self-awareness and a whole lot of things, right? So don't be in a hurry. That's the first thing. But I thought that it would be interesting as we go on this journey to have some opening thoughts. My first opening thought for you is that your life has purpose. Your future has a plan. You were born with wings, but you must learn to fly. You know, a lot of people think that life itself is aimless. And you hear things like, especially Yoruba, at least I will speak to the part of the country where I'm from and the things I experienced growing up in the village. You hear things like, it's not a right thing for you to say about yourself. I mean, literally what it means is I'm in trouble. What kind of problem is this? That is how the average person in the village, that's the way we think. That's the way you grow up. But that is not how you unravel your potential. You don't open a gift box complaining. I'm trying to be, I hope it's graphical for someone. You don't open a beautifully packaged box complaining I'm in trouble. I can't make it. I am limited. No. The first thing in unboxing your potential is that you must remember that your life has purpose, that your future has a plan, and that you were given a wings, but you have a responsibility to do what? To fly. You need to be patient. I think I already spoke to that. You need to take off all the labels. And then I like this one. Another opening thought. You need to invest in yourself. Hey, it's just like if the gift. So this is my second question. If the gift you were given is an iPhone, Olaleke, we're open the chat box again. If the gift you were given is an iPhone and there is a charger and all that, after you have opened the box, what will you do with the phone? Anyone? Please just put in the chat box. Let's assume the gift you are giving is an iPhone 13 plus. You've been given it, you've unraveled it, it's an iPhone, there's a charger, it's beautiful, all the Apple thing. What are you gonna do after that? After you've unraveled it? Please put it in the chat box. Let's make this interesting.
So somebody says here, I will read the manual. Somebody says, I will use it to call the sender. And somebody says, I will jump for joy.
I will jump for it. I like that. Okay, I will maintain my enthusiasm. I will jump for joy. I will read the manual. I like that thing about reading the manual. I will use it to call the sender. Now, let me ask the person that said I will use it to call the sender. Before you call the sender, what will you do with the phone? And anyone can help. How do you get about calling the sender with an iPhone that is new? What's the first thing you do?
Somebody says change the phone. Another person says I will put it on and also look at the manual.
Charge the phone. Is it charge?
Yeah, that's charge. Charge the phone.
There you go. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Unboxing your potential will require you to charge yourself. Do you hear me? You need to charge the phone. And the way you charge the phone of life is what you invest in yourself. Now, whether it's communication skills, digital skills, every skill that you feel is necessary and every capability concerning your chosen endeavor, you need to take care of it. So you charge the phone. And someone say, I will read the manual, which is also correct. You need to read the manual, which means you need to even ask yourself, what am I going to do with this phone now? That's the manual. What exactly can it do for me? What are the things that this phone can bring? And I like that person that said, I will call the sender, which means I will put it to use. So you see, unwrapping your potential there's a lot you need to do, but there's also some things you need to do from the very beginning. So work on things in unboxing your potential. You need to work on things that people can't take away from you, like your mindset, like your character, like your transparency, like your personality, your whole being. Leke was saying, I came early because I'm used to it. You can't take that. If you walk away from an organization, they can take their cars, but they can't take who you have become. So in unboxing your potential, you need to work on your mindset. If I use the phone analogy, so this is the iPhone, right, that someone has given you, you've unboxed it. You need to put the applications that you want, that you like on it. Is it an Adobe Reader? I don't know what it is. Microsoft Excel. You need to you need to download the applications that you like. I listen to a lot of podcasts. So one thing you will definitely find on my phone are podcasts. For people who love pictures, you need to put applications that will be useful for. So it is your prerogative to work on things that will be useful as you unbox your potential, right? I continue to say the world is your kaleidoscope. Because of our time, again, I've got quite some things into that slide, but I'm just going to pick a few things and go on, right? The world is your kaleidoscope. The varying combinations of colors, which at every succeeding moment, the world presents to you, are the increasingly adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. When I was growing up, I used to say to myself, because my mom was pretty educated. She was working within the academic setting. As a matter of fact, before she passed on, she was a professor. But I was in the village with my grandmother, and she used to travel to come and visit us. And I'll see her, and she was so beautiful, and she'd be speaking English. And then I'll say to my grandmother in Yoruba, "Lord, going be and TBC." What that literally means is one day I will speak English because I used to call her Auntie BC, my mom, right? I will speak English like Auntie BC. So God has given you a box. What are you going to do with it? You have an iPhone. What are you going to do with it? If you like, you can download applications that move you forward. But if you also like, you can download applications that are not very useful. And this is really the question of life. What are you going to do with you? What are you going to do with yourself? So I have a couple of thoughts here, there. If you like it, if it's applicable, you may want to take them down. Nothing in life is ever handed to you. You earn it. That person that gave you the phone, he's sending you a message. It's either I love you, I value you, I respect you, I'm mindful of you, you are special, God loves, whatever it is. Right. So if you want to continue to have those kind of presence and you want to continue to be someone that people will place a premium on, then you need to work on yourself. You need to put away aimlessness and weakness and think with purpose. You cannot just begin to say, oh, this iPhone 9, I don't know what to do with it. Oh, then you have to go and put it under your bed. That's not that you're not unraveling it. Even if you've opened the box, you need to use the iPhone. And that's why you need to get the necessary applications that you think will be useful. And I go back to that person that said, I'm going to call the person that gave it to me. You need to recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment. That's another point that I have there. And these are just thoughts, right? I'm not getting to how you unbox your potential. What does that mean? If you don't charge the iPhone, it won't work. That's failure. Listen to me. Some days, that iPhone, you wake up and it's blank. As a matter of fact, you can even charge it, and one day the screen can be broken. An iPhone with a broken screen can still work because broken crayons, they still color. So even if that iPhone is not charged, you have a responsibility to put the charge. And in case the charging port is bad, you have a responsibility to get a new one. And in case the charging point is working, right, and everything is fine, but your transformer is blown, then by all means, leave your house and go to your friends or your neighbor's house and charge that phone if you want to use it. This is what it's all about. So think strongly, attempt fearlessly, accomplish masterfully. You cannot afford to say, there's no light on this iPhone is not working, I'll hide it. You're not using it. And I go back to the person that said, I'll call the person who gave it to me. If you don't charge it, as a matter of fact, if you don't follow the label, someone said, I'll follow the instructions. And if you don't follow the settings, it won't even come to life. So you see, there's a lot that goes into unraveling your potential, but there's a lot of it has to do with us and your understanding of your role in unraveling it. It's not about where you're born. It's not about who is against you. It's not about who loves you. As a matter of fact, it's not about what life. I mean, things can be difficult, right? Like Nigeria is currently tough for a lot of persons. But you can decide to say, in spite of all this, I will achieve and I will achieve greatly. Or you can decide to say, I will give up. Unboxing your potential will take a decision from you. So let's get into the real phase. So how do you unbox your potential? I just thought that I was going to do a bit of that preamble with questions. How do you unbox your potential? It took me a while to understand really the journey that I was on. I just know that I didn't want my life to be ordinary. I remember growing up in a village. We used to go to a Baptist church. I knew I was different, right? It was just somewhere in my head. Of course, I was raised to also be different. My grandmother always, she was always telling me that I was unique, right? That I was special. I recall there was a day I had a challenge with a classmate because I came first. I think I was in maybe primary school in Niger State, and I came first. And my friend was so upset with me; she wanted to beat me up, and I ran. Right? I didn't want to be beaten up. I don't know if anybody has ever been bullied in school. I was a little girl. She was my good friend, and she was gonna beat me up. And they had gang up, and I knew what it was about, right? Because that was not the first time. So I ran to the headmaster's office, and because they could not beat me up, they started hurling insults at me. And I recall that my friend called me. In Hausa, she said, Shegia me kapan agwagwa. It literally means I walk like a dog. And more like something like that in Yoruba, right? And then I recall I cried. And I went home. And when I got home and narrated the incident to my grandmother, but that was after several attempts at crying. And then she said, I'm speaking your word because I really want you to get it. What that means is do you have a dog's leg? I said no. Then she asked me another question. That means, are you a dog? I said no. She said, I never forgot. But she gave me an instruction. She said, what I've said in Yoruba is, if you recognize that you're not a dog, it doesn't matter what somebody else has called you. You need to go back and tell her you're not a dog. And don't ever let anybody tell you what you are not. Beloved, that was the last time that what people say about me matter. I want to ask you this evening, are you a dog? Even if they have called you stupid or hopeless, are you hopeless? Do you think you're stupid? If you know you are not, then today is the last day that the limits that anybody has set on you matter. And so to unbox your potential, you must realize there will be struggle. And the first attempt towards it is start now. Please face it. Stop all this Mickey. Somebody is doing everything. You cry. If they offend you, you won't go to church. They offend you, you won't join. You will leave FGB. And if anything, every time someone does something, you react. No. Unboxing your potential means you start now. You stop waiting for the conditions to be right, because all through life they're going to talk about you. When you work in a career setting like I do, you're going to be in a meeting and someone is going to tell you your voice is too loud, your voice is too low. If there was a day somebody told me that I work for a multinational organization, and it's a European company, and the average energy of an African is different from that of a European, and I am quite passionate. And somebody told me that I was electrifying. You can imagine. But I have learned a long time ago to know that it's okay for people to express what they think. It doesn't change who I am. So you need to start now adjusting to how people describe you. You need to start now working hard on that potential. You cannot wait. You cannot say, I will get the degree when I have money. You will get it when you don't have money. You look for it, right? You cannot say, it's only when I'm 40. That's when I will work on my communication skills. It's a little bit too late in the day. As a matter of fact, it's never late for anything. But if you start earlier, then you can consolidate. The second one is develop a growth mindset. It's a very clear thing. If you're going to unbox your potential, you cannot have a mindset of kosheshe. That's the Yoruba thing. It cannot be done. No. A growth mindset is a mindset that efforts matter. A growth mindset is a mindset of things can change, right? I'll give an example with Pastor Diola. We used to pray together sometimes back in Marwa, and he's both a father and a mentor. And I recall how he used to like to see me drive. And then when he raised, he said, Folake, your car. I would say, no, I don't drive in the rain. That's a mindset, though. And up till now, I didn't change it. I'm using that practical example so that you will know how much a mindset can limit you. Honestly, you decide how far you will go. You decide in life how far you will go. If you think you're great, you're great. If you think you are not great enough, you're not great enough, unfortunately. So develop a mindset that is a role model mindset. Don't have a victim mindset. Don't have a mindset of somebody is against me, nobody makes it in my family, we don't have money, I didn't pass by. Go and write it again. It's okay. It's fine. And anybody can write exams again. So don't have a mindset of I will fail again. No, you are not a failure, and that's how to unbox your potential. Of course, there is no getting to without going through, right? If you're going to unbox your potential, you need to honor you need to embrace the problems that life brings you. I recall one incident when I was a product manager in Pfizer. I had traveled to Enugu for a meeting. I just landed in Lagos. I'd been in Enugu for about a week, and I had just landed in Lagos. And apparently they've been trying to reach me. My phone was switched off because after I alighted from the aircraft, I forgot to switch back my phone, to switch it back on. And when I got to my house, I was unpacking. That was when I realized that my phone had been switched off. And I saw that I had several missed calls, almost several really. And I was like, really, what's going on? It was from an aunt, Auntie Maria. And then I picked the missed call. Hala, she had sent me a message. And what was the message? I had just lost my kid brother in an auto accident. I remember that the same clothes, I just put them back in my bag and I traveled to Abuja to meet my grieving mom before she eventually died as well. What am I trying to say? I didn't resign because of that. You cannot because life has happened, right? That relationship walked away. Your landlord harassed you in the morning. So you have a challenge. You had a bit of difficulty in the morning. You were harassed by your landlord. And then because of that, you will not go to church. Or because of that, the first person that greets you, you're upset. They ask you to lead prayers. How can you sharpen the sword if you reject every opportunity just because the condition is not right? Because you have only one shirt, you say, no, don't put me in the front, put me behind. When will you learn how to stay in the front? So I encourage someone who is going through difficulties. I encourage anyone who is having it rough to say, you don't always be like that. And so you need to honor your struggle and you need to embrace life even in the difficult days. Big picture thinking. If you're going to unbox your potential, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. Not all at the same time, right? You want to, okay, so you're lucky to get an iPhone. That was a gift. Now, 3 years down the line, if you know you cannot afford one, it does not now mean you will now drop that one and say, I have to get the latest iPhone. Since nobody is giving me, whatever I get, your little salary that you need to invest, you now use it to get an iPhone. No. So sometimes unboxing your potential is your capacity to reassess why things are happening to you, and to know that you need to delay gratification, and to know that everything will fall into place eventually, but it might take the whole of time. It might take the whole of life, I beg your pardon. So give it time, right? Be a lifelong learner. I cannot overemphasize this. If you're going to unbox your potential, you must continue to stretch. Every situation, even when you become a leader, right, you keep learning. And there's a quotation there that I really love. I put it in there for those who it might speak to. It says, in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth. The knowers will find themselves very well equipped for a world that no longer exists. If you're going to unbox your potential, you must continue to be a lifelong learner. If you feel you already know, I know too much, there's nothing anybody can teach me again. Well, you are good. It's just that you will be overqualified for a world that has moved. So learn how to have virtual meetings, right? Understand how to have dialogue and rich conversations. Improve those areas that you know you are lagging behind. Unboxing your potential means you don't retire before you retire. So be a lifelong learner and always remember that it's a process and that you will need a lot of discipline. Those are the few things I put together because I was hoping that you will ask me more questions really so that I can use my life experience, the little that I've had, because I'm still learning, to answer some of your questions. So I'll quickly run through my closing thoughts and I'm happy to take your questions as you may have, you may want. I think for me, one of the big things I wanted to share in terms of closing thought is that there can be no progress or achievement without sacrifice, right? So if you're going to unbox your potential, you must be willing to sacrifice. You must be willing to commit to a cause, and you must be willing to give it time. I'm wondering what's there again that is different. Think strongly, attempt fearlessly. I think I said this. Accomplish masterfully. If you're going to unbox your potential, you must be excellence oriented, right? You must have your orientation to life, your orientation to purpose, your orientation to everything that is committed into your hands must be done excellently. I was listening to the gentleman that started this meeting this evening. I was so impressed, coordinated pattern of thinking. You must be mindful of what you're becoming. And that was why at the beginning I said, get hold of that communication skills, get hold of that digital skills, train yourself, work on your grammar. If you're going to unbox your potential, if you're going to be someone that God is going to use, you must make yourself available. And sometimes making yourself available means preparing, right? Recognize failure as one of the pathways. I think I already said this. And then just say yes. I really, really wanted this to be very conversational. I was hoping that I could share one or two life experiences from your question. So I'm going to stop projecting. I'm going to stop the presentation and then I can take your questions and we can take chats.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for the session. Okay, so and I think it's really a good thing. Thank you for what you've shared. I know that there are questions, and I think we have an opportunity tonight, and this is to the house. So we have sufficient time to ask questions. So this is what I would suggest. If you have questions or thoughts you want to share or clarifications, put it in the chat box, or you can just raise your hand and would unmute your mic. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Impressive, mind-blowing. Yes, but I'm sure there are questions because we have young people in the house, and a lot has been said. So she was speaking, she said, even when you don't have money, get a degree. How is that possible? How do you do that? I mean, I'm sure there are questions. So please feel very free tonight. Let's maximize this opportunity we have with her, please. I mean, I think like when you were speaking, like what I mentioned, you said now is the time to do whatever you want to do. But the reality in Nigeria today is for a lot of young people, yes, they want to learn things, but there are economic realities, there are challenges, that make it impossible to do those things. Maybe impossible is not the word, but it makes it challenging. So how do you deal with that as a young person? You don't have a job,
yeah,
and economic realities.
It's a very good question, and I thank you for asking that. You can volunteer. Let me start with that. And I know that this is something that is said easily, and a lot of people will think we keep hearing this, we keep hearing it. One of the great places to volunteer is at a church or at a fellowship. Because what happens when you volunteer, especially when you're part of a unit or a subgroup, is that your skills are honed. So you may not have money to get a degree, but you're part of drama group or you're part of a praise group. If you're interested in communication, you can volunteer in media group. If you're interested, if you want to be a pastor, you can volunteer in a Bible study group. What it does is those avenues hone your skills, and beyond the church. You can look for an NGO that is looking for active volunteers, but just make sure that you're volunteering in a setting that is a little bit close to what you're aiming to be, such that in the course of your volunteering, because the volunteer will do several things for you. One, you can acquire some skills without having to pay for them. Two, it can expand your network, which means you get to meet others, and those people can help you in the near future. Three, volunteering can actually set you up for destiny, because someone can see even beyond what you see of yourself, and they can recommend something, or you can even get sponsors. So I think that is one way, but you can also ask for help. Okay, so there are several ways of asking for help, right? A lot of us always about help to meet our physiologic needs, basic needs. But honestly, you may need to pray and ask God to give you wisdom who to approach. I've had people approach me concerning serious issues, concerning exams, concerning schools. And I'm not saying come meet me, but I'm saying prayerfully consider, and God will lay someone in your heart that might be able to help you to say, I'm interested in this program. I cannot afford it for now. Is there a way you can help me, or is there a service? Because at the end of the day, you can also be paid something. Is there a service that I can offer? Can I do something for you, and you in turn help support or help sponsor me in this regard? So that is one way that you can navigate these difficult times. Of course, you can pray. I can add that. You can pray, which is the spiritual part of it. But really being practical and honestly, get on YouTube. Get on YouTube and do that course for free. There are so many courses, especially for those of you who want to be entrepreneurs. And for those of you who are in the academic setting and you're not able to pay for that master's program today, there are so many free LinkedIn courses. Get on LinkedIn, right? Look for a course that is related, marketing, sales, business development, communication, whatever it is, and learn it for free. And when the right time comes and you have some money, you get the certification. And you can also look for small things that you can do, right? Look for small things. Like I said, you can provide services. You can clean someone's house. It's not beneath you. And there's nothing wrong. It's interesting that in Nigeria, people, and I say this respectfully, right? Maybe because of things are tough, you are not willing to volunteer to clean someone's house. But if you're abroad, you can do that. I want to encourage you, get out of your own way, take the shackles of your own feet. If you need to clean somebody's house for you to raise money for your exams, by all means do. That would be my thoughts on that question.
Thank you, Ma. So there's a question here, and I will add to it as well. So the person says, Damola Oshodi, during your time living with your grandma, did you ever think you would be the person you are today? What were the telltale signs that led you in the path you took? Okay. And then maybe to add to that, I will also say today, in about 24 years post-graduation, you sit on a multinational, you're the country manager. Now, you're a pharmacist, but I mean, yes, even though you are still in pharmaceuticals, you are in an executive, in a leadership role. So how did that happen? How did you transition? What were the, I mean, what experiences, practical challenges or, the road?
It's a very good question. Okay, so let me pick it from the person that said, when I was with my grandma, I think the first thing was that I was raised with a lot of love. And Mama was always telling me that I was gifted, that I was blessed. And in Yoruba, they will say, well, you will succeed. I think that's what it means literally. So that's the first thing. But did I know that I was going to end up to be an executive? I didn't even know what I was going to be in life. But I believed those things that I was told. You see, I was in the village, we sit on the floor, but I make sure that wherever I would sit was clean. We trek to church, right? But when I go to church, I face the business of the day and I come back. What I'm trying to say was that even though I was in a village, I was careful not to become a villager. That was the first thing. Those are the telltale signs, right? Right from when I was in primary school. When others, typically when you live in the village, you have sand. People are usually not, I'm not saying they are dirty, but because you have a lot of dust, and it's not probably a very funny setting. You have people sitting on the floor, people sitting on a mat, and sometimes I was very cautious because I had an idea in my mind. Because like I told you, my mother was some kind of model. Every time she came, I think the way she inspired me was she was always speaking English and I wanted to speak English. But my teachers also, when I look at a few, because there was something about the setting that I didn't like. It was in the north. And if you have ever been in the north, we had a lot of almajiris, if you know what I mean. I was probably one of the few kids that had proper uniform. So I had this mindset of what can I do to make sure I stand out? Okay, that's a good side. So I stood out. I wear socks to class, and there were a lot of people in my class. Some of them, their pants were torn. I did not despise them, but I know I didn't want to be like that. So those are some of the telltale signs, right? But to answer your question, Damola, that was a heavy one. Honestly, I took it a day at a time. When I was in secondary school, I was very focused. I recall when I was in boarding house, people would sneak because I was in a boarding house, girls only. They would sneak for parties, but I would use candle to read because I used to say to myself, I wanted to speak good English. It was very important to me because when the village, then we'll go to Ogumosho for Christmas and they will speak all this, their Ogumosho English, and I didn't like it, right? And I'll say to myself, so I used to read a lot. I was in a boarding school, and then my literature, I was a science student, but I had a literature teacher who took interest in me a lot. So my point is, I was disciplined. There were so many things I could have spent my time doing, I didn't do. I want to beg you. If you're young, I want to beg you. Instagram is good, but don't stay too long on it, please. YouTube is good, but don't stay on YouTube practicing how to dance. For God's sake, no. There is a cost. That was how I got here. I was disciplined and the little things matter. I used to read voraciously. I read several paperbacks. I used to read a lot. So it helped to a large degree my vocabulary base, right? And in school, I was very serious. I was very focused. I had my challenges. I had difficulties. For example, I struggled with mathematics when I was in secondary school. And it was really because we didn't have math teacher throughout. The only teacher we had was biology. And that's why I loved biology, and it was a youth copper. I went to government secondary school, Tegina, Central Primary School, Padogari, United States. We didn't have math teacher, we didn't have physics teacher. There's a textbook they call Holderless and Lambert for those who graduated. I read that textbook, it's a chemistry textbook by myself. So my question is, there was a lot of sacrifice, there was a lot of discipline, there was focus. I was focused on, I wanted to be unique, I wanted to be special. So that was the secondary school. When I got into the university, the distraction was a lot, but I was already set in some ways. I already had an idea of what was negotiable in my life and what was not. Maybe that is a question to ask you. And for those taking notes, you want to add that. What is negotiable for you and what is non-negotiable? I had an excellent image of myself. I had an orientation of how I wanted to be, right? And then we didn't even have digital, we didn't have phone then. But even in church, when I see people, I know those I wanted to be like and those I didn't want to be like. By the time I got into university, I was able to trade off and choose among alternatives. I was able to focus because I was more mature and I already had proof points that things were going to get better. When I got into career and I started work in 2002, that was when the real challenges started, right? And to be very honest with you, I started as a medical representative and I had an opportunity to trade because back then, when you're a rep, we carry medicines, we carry the medicines, the drugs that we were promoting. So sometimes some people turn themselves into traders. What I mean by that is they were making shortcuts and making money, the money that should come to the organization, they were making. If you don't build integrity in the early years, you will struggle with it later in life. And so I learned to focus, I learned to separate between what is the priority of the organization. You can't work for an organization and the organization said, this is how I want my work done. And then you will say to yourself, Mi Olewaku. If you know Olewaku, then you shouldn't be in that place. Mi Olewaku means I can't come and kill myself. No. So I understood the power of commitment. I understood the power of sacrifice. And by the way, what was driving me was I wanted my life to matter. I wanted my life to count. I didn't want to be a villager. Let me tell you a story that might put this in perspective for you. When I was growing up, my grandmother was a very old man, but she was like the grand patron of artisans in Niger State. And I recall that very early in the morning, people were always coming to our house to settle disputes. Mechanics will come with their wife, carpenter will come. Sometimes it is some people that are coming to report other people to say, this guy has done this guy has done that to his wife, and she will settle the dispute. Sometimes I'm hearing a lot of times, of course, I can't sit in those settings because when adults talk, you're not meant to sit there. And then one day, very early in the morning, there was a bad dispute where a mechanic threw a spanner, and I think that he hit his wife, and they had to rush her to the hospital, blah, blah. It was a bad case, right? After she settled that dispute, she woke me up, and then she asked me, choose, what would you like to marry? A carpenter, a mechanic, a tailor, a bricklayer? And I said in Yoruba, God forbid. And she said, what do I mean? I said, no, ma, I want to marry a doctor, an architect. I didn't even know what an architect was. And then she said, if you're going to get any of those, then you need to be focused. I never forgot that example. I never forgot. I started running. All my life, I've been running so that I'm not what I don't want to be. My question is, what are you afraid of? What is that thing that is part of your growing up that you don't like? If you don't make a decision, you may find yourself there. So it's a combination of things. It's a combination of hard work. It's a combination of diligence. It's a combination of focus. It's a combination of not giving up, but also of trusting God. I guess that's how we got here. It hasn't been easy, right? Life has happened. And some things have gone well. Some things have not gone as I planned. But what is important is I'm not giving up on myself. I'm not giving up on my dreams. So I think that's how we got here. I don't know if that helps, but really, those are some of the practical examples I can give you of how we got here. I'll give you an example in career for those who are in the career. I recall I was in an organization one time and I was given a letter as marketing manager in the morning because I had done so well. I had joined the organization and under 2 years, I was given a letter as a marketing manager in the morning. And by afternoon, they collected the letter and said it was a mistake. And then they returned the letter and gave me a new one that said product manager, group product manager. I was already a product manager. And I cried. Unknown to me, certain people heard that they were going to make me marketing manager and they reacted. When did she come? Blah, blah, blah. So life will happen. And they took the letter. If it's somebody else, they will resign. They will run off. They hate me. And I called my mom and I was crying and she said, what does it matter? If they said you are marketing manager and you are not, it doesn't matter. Do you think you're a marketing manager? Do you think you qualify? And I said, well, I'm a product manager of 2 years. She said, okay, so focus. If indeed you are a marketing manager, they will bring that letter again. She was right. It took another year, just one more year. But they gave me that letter. And this time around, it was marketing manager. My question is, If you were the one, would you have stayed or would you have run off? If your salary was denied you or a promotion is denied you, will you now resign? If you resign and you go to another organization, it might repeat itself. But if you stay in that place where you already have built credibility, in a matter of time, your opportunity will come again, because a goldfish has no hiding place and your right will not be denied you. So give it time. Give it time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. There are still more questions, and I know people still have questions. Now, there's a question here that says, how do you organize your thoughts, your thought process, and time management? And I mean, as an executive, so you're working on a multinational, so it means you are dealing with many things at the same time, different people, your KPI. So how do you put all of it together, and manage your time effectively? Because as you're speaking here, you are settled.
All right, that's a good, thank you for that question. I think it's important to separate between what is urgent and what is important. And I think it is, if you take care of important things, they will not become urgent. I'm speaking to handling tasks. A lot of times, if you do not do what you should do at the right time, something that is just an everyday task can become an urgent task. I think that's the first thing around tasks. Now, around organizing my thought, I think for me, it starts from when I wake up. And I really like that question. I think whoever asked that question, I really take hold of my day. For example, when I wake up sometimes for 1 hour, I'm on my bed. Now, maybe because I'm single, I don't know how many people can do that, but you can start that early. What I mean by that is I take hold of my day from my thought process. I read a book by Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. I don't know how many people have read that book. It will amaze you how many things you struggle with that are not real, but are caused by your mind. For example, you wake up in the morning and you're trying to dress for work, and then you pick a shirt. You will just hear something like, that shirt, when I wear it, I look like old woman. You are the one who told yourself that you look like an old woman. Nobody has told you. And then, or maybe you are in the shower, you just hear, what about if this thing just fall on my head now? I'm talking about that part of you that never keeps quiet. You cannot disappear from yourself. It's there, it's your mind. And so one of the way I organize my thought is I take hold of it from the morning. So when I wake up in the morning, I have affirmations. When I wake up in the morning, beyond quiet time, right? Beyond praying and speaking in the Holy Ghost, I really say to myself, it's a good day. My mind is clear. I'm not stupid. I am not confused. I have the wisdom of God. Today is going to be all right. And if there is anything that is bigger than me, God is going to help me. Lord, help me today. Don't let me say the wrong things. Don't let me see the wrong people. I'm not kidding you. That is literally how I wake up in the morning. I speak until I begin to feel those realities. And I see myself smiling. And then I get into the shower. Now, depending on how my schedules go, if I don't have critical meetings, I spend significant time in the presence of God. Sometimes it's in the evening that I have time for good quiet time if my morning is very busy. And that is also part of planning. Because what we call work-life balance, all this mechanical prayer or I must pray 30 minutes in the morning, you are praying even your heart is not there. No, God is not a joker. If you're going to meditate, you need to meditate. If you cannot, you sing, you pray, you speak, pray in the Holy Ghost, you get into the shower. When you come back in the evening, I start taking your evening walk. If you're one of those who do that, you take that. So that's one of the ways I organize my thoughts. I meditate a lot and I take hold of my money. I read a lot and reading helps me, right? I'm very reflective. What that means is if an event happens, I ask myself, what did I do well? For example, after this meeting today, I'm going to ask myself, what did I do well? What didn't I do well? I'll tell you a trade-off, a gamble. I gambled actually this evening, and that's why maybe for those who have listened to me before, this meeting is a bit different. Typically, when I talk, and it's either I use slides or I go really scripture, or I talk about myself from beginning till the end. But you see, I say to myself, I want to answer questions. I want to be practical. And it's not easy, right? Because it's a gamble. You are saying, will your audience ask questions? But now you're asking. So I made that trade-off and I disciplined myself and said, I'm not going to speak for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I know people are going to be surprised. I'm going to stop because I just don't want to throw things down at them. I want us to be able to have a dialogue, to converse, right? To have a rich conversation around what I did, how I got here. And that's what's happening. But that was a trade-off. So I organize my thoughts by thinking ahead. I implement what I think, and then I assess what I have implemented. And then next time, hopefully, it gets better. So that's one of the ways I organize my talk. I take hold of my day, I read books, I ask for the help of the Holy Spirit, but I also reflect on what worked and what didn't work. I hope that helps someone.
That definitely helps. Thank you very much, Ma. We are grateful for the time and for the experience you have shared. What has been the greatest challenge on your journey? What has been the greatest challenge in achieving your purpose? Because if I think through your presentation, what I hear is you feel you are on track, you have been focused on a purpose, and you sound like you are on that track. So there's fulfillment in what I hear. So what has been the greatest challenge in that journey?
Wow, that's a serious one. So I'll speak to two big things. I think one is personal. So I've had quite some personal challenges in life, especially around family. I've had quite some tragedies, and that has affected me a lot, even though it has also probably influenced the woman that I am now. But that came with a lot of, it's one thing I've learned to love and to let go, right? Put from my mom to my siblings and even to relationships. So that's definitely one big challenge that I've had to navigate in life, right? I've had some personal losses, but I've not allowed that to stop me on this journey of life, because I've come to realize that life happens. And I'm grateful for where I am today. I think the other big thing that I'll speak to, and maybe for those around career who are listening to me, is the fact that time is a challenge. I've had to wait for a lot of things. A lot of people don't realize, people admire me a lot, but they don't realize. For example, now I've been MD, country lead for my current role. I've been in my current role for about 5 years and 6 months, because I'm counting. And I'm in a hurry to make my next move. And one of my big challenge is I realize that life is not a microwave and that good things take time. Now, I'm a very reflective person, and I've been in Nigeria and I've worked in the shores of Africa for over 23 years. The implication of that is my next move is one that I'm careful about. And so whilst a lot of peers, if you would, or a lot of people by now would have moved into something else, one of my big challenge is navigating my seasons and understanding when to make my move. Those are not things you can really explain with words. And for those who were following, if you were following my conversation, I'm sure that at some point I attempted to say something like that from the notes that I shared. So navigating my seasons and knowing, for example, I've received several job offers that I've said no to. In terms of money, maybe higher salaries relative to where I am, different places, but in my view, they were not in line with the path that I have set for myself. I think for me that it's a tough challenge to wait things out. It's a tough challenge to remember that things happen only in their season. It's been tough, just the discipline of waiting. It's a tough pill, right? But I can clearly tell you that probably that's how we got here. When I was a rep, a lot of the people that we were contemporaries with left. I remember that was then when Glo was just coming into Nigeria, and Glo was starting in Nigeria, and MTN was flourishing, and so many people went into telecommunication. I have no problem with that. The question I asked myself is this really what you want? I said no. What's wrong with where you are? You have not been promoted. Be patient. I was patient. I look back now, it was the right move. And when I needed to navigate also between being a middle-level manager to a senior leader, I had to wait my turn. As a matter of fact, there was a time that I had to resign from a place, not because I had another job, just because I believed that God told me it was time to leave. And it took 3 months after I resigned from that place that I got this current place. I think really one of the biggest challenge from a career point of view for me is discerning my season having the courage to wait out, because that waiting period is a tough one. And a lot of you, and honestly, this question is so dear to my, and a lot of you are navigating that. And you are thinking you are forgotten, and people, there are no life mates. I beg you. I beg you. If you think there are life mates, the next time you travel, pick somebody else's bag just because it looks like your bag. You'll be shocked. Some people have kuli in their bag. Some people have hammers. Some people have, there are no life mates, only your bag. So pick your Russell. Just pick your bag and keep moving. You can learn from other people's experiences. You can learn from their journey. But don't disqualify yourself just because you are just starting. Don't mistake inexperience for disqualification. Don't mistake the fact that you're a late starter. Don't give up on yourself before life even begins. And probably that's one of the big ways to unbox your potential. You cannot travel within and stand still without. You need to ask yourself, where am I going? What would I look like in the next 3-5 years? All right, so I go abroad. So when I get there, what will I do? What is the value that I have that I will give them, that will make them give me their money? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself. So in order not to wear us out, I thought that was really, really a question that was very dear to my heart. Definitely for me, it's really how I've had to be patient. It's tough. It's and it's a skill, right? Staying power. It's also a skill, resilience, the ability for you to be able to wait it out, knowing that you are on course, but also while you are waiting, you keep growing. So I'm on the same job, but I'm not the same person every day, right? I'm not rusty. I'm still learning, I'm still stretching, I'm still reading, and I'm preparing for my next step. So that when I get there, because usually when you get to your next step, you can't start learning what you need for that role when you get there. What you need for your next step, you must learn it now. I think, in my view, those would be some of the two challenges I've had. Some personal challenges around losses, and then having to wait for the right season to make my career moves.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So this person says, what has been the trade-off? The prices you paid to get this far. I think you have spoken about that to an extent, but maybe you may want to reinforce it, or that folks may have to deal with. So it sounds to me like which is related to the last question. But what have you paid? What's the price you've paid to get this far? Or what are the things that people will have to deal with? Well, I'll allow you to speak to it maybe directly, but I think you've kind of touched some of this before.
Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. And calmness is power. One of the trade-offs in my life is self-control. I've had to make trade-offs with regards to where I go by weekends, what I do with my free time. It's one of my trade-offs. I'm still single, and a lot of people think I didn't trade off marriage. It just hasn't happened. I mean, for me, I say it as it is, right? And I know it's gonna come so well, right? So that wasn't a trade-off, but self-control was a trade-off, right? Discipline. I had to choose what I can do and what I can't do. Honestly. Even on a bad day, you won't catch me looking anyhow. It was a trade-off, right? Because I, by the grace of God, I have an idea of an end in mind. When I see people like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, I'm inspired. And I'm thinking, if she can be there, why not me, right? My mom, before she died, she was a prof, right? At 60. So those are the trade-offs. I discipline myself. I choose amongst alternatives. I don't like cheap things. And so for me not to be able to use cheap things, I have to work so hard so that I can afford what I can afford, right? I choose my friends. I have a very respectable but very close inner cycle. Honestly, I love people. I respect people. I respect the blessings and the energy they bring. But honestly, that is one trade-off in my life. The kind of friends, the kind of places I go to, you won't catch me anywhere, just anyhow. And honestly, I have a friend that is very close to my heart. Anytime, she was telling me just a few days ago that there was I think an event near my house, and another friend of ours was saying, let's go and call Folake, and she said, Folake look we buy it. Oh, call it look we Folake buy it. Now those are the trade-offs. My time is very precious. I respect it. You know, you have 1,440 minutes every day. It's like somebody gives you 40 pounds every day. My question is, what will you do with it? So those are the trade-offs, right? My time, my choices, my friends, my values, my integrity matters a lot. And that meant also a lot of sacrifice. That meant I needed to be a role model. That meant, and honestly, it's no pressure. I don't feel pressured. Because I'm not doing it to impress anybody. It is a choice, right? And it's a very, very good question. You need to ask yourself, I said it earlier, what are your negotiables and what are your non-negotiables? Excellence is a non-negotiable for me. Values, integrity is non-negotiable for me. Cleanliness is non-negotiable for me. The right audience is non-negotiable for me. Those are the trade-offs. And if you're going to have right friends, you must be right. You know, a lot of people think, oh, my friends are not right. It's really you, right? People are not, because you are the average of the 5 people that you call your friends. So if you must be right for a man, you must be right to yourself. So those are some of the trade-offs in my view. And I do not, this is not an anti-social activity campaign, no. This is not an anti-social activity campaign, no. I'm just saying you must know what sets you off, right? What you can handle and what you can't handle. I'm sensitive to the kind of places I go. I'm sensitive to the kind of people who speak into my life. As a matter of fact, I'm sensitive to the kind of church I go to. Those are the trade-offs, in my view.